first matchup. Now, they're in that entry category. The other categories kind of dominated by ATK cookies.
Yes, ATK. Till my bones decay. Is that right?
It's
yes.
correct.
ATK.
Yeah. ATK does not stand for attack. It stands for aim to kill.
Yeah,
as I was made aware.
Yeah, these guys are aiming to take control with a K of Challenger League right now. They're number one. They have a chance to really set the tempo and to really set the stage. Edward. I love Eddie. I love his name. Berta and Splash are actually two of the more pleasant surprise. Splash, this is his first season. The guy's playing a strong entry role alongside Ferda, who missed a good chunk of the past 6 months with injury. You know, he came back from his elbow tear, and now he's one of the best entries in the league right now. He's playing exceptionally. And then, of course, Julian. I gotta say, he's actually playing one of the better supports, too. Again, this knock on wood. We're not done with this season yet. But as of right now, he's outshining traditional names like the Beastlies or whatever. And he's right up there with Karn and everybody else. So he's actually one of the stronger supports, got good plant numbers. So ATK's got a lot going for him. But Karn Company, this is their first real test, I would say.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, because if you look at ATK, they're top of the standings, and you're like, okay, yeah, that means they're really good. They haven't necessarily played a whole lot of the topper, the upper echelon, the creme de la creme of our Challenger League here. That hasn't happened yet, and this right here is the first step in that direction. Karn Co, I'm on the record. I said these guys were my dark horses, and it's for a reason. You've got a main, strong core of players that have been together for a while, with, led by Carnage B. You got the remnants of the old Gatekeepers roster, Feltwinter, Whitlock, Zeno. Mikey has been playing the best siege of his life. And you have Indy, who is their top-rated player, but he only played one game. So don't know if we should really take that one with anything more than a grain of salt. But like we were alluding to earlier, you were saying that Mikey, Brim, you were saying Mikey was doing pretty well for himself. That's because he is, like I just said, playing the best siege of his life right now at this very, very moment.
I think this is when you want it, right? You just want it all the time. You want them to get better and keep getting better, and this is what he's done. Let's shift the focus back over to ATK for a second. Cookies, these critical points, what do you say about a team that is doing as well as ATK?
I'm gonna forego the first point because I want Connor to talk about it, but early round in enabling the fraggers, right? A guy like Julian, I almost called him his old name, Julian. This guy, he's staying out of opening engagements. He's allowing his guys to shine. He's throwing him in. He's playing a strong support role, right? And he's enabling those guys. And if you have that formula going for you, and you don't deviate, nobody's trying to force things, it's a winning formula. It's a proven winning formula, Connor, especially on those two particular maps, isn't it?
Yes. But the main thing about those two maps is I highlighted them because, we know ATK loves them. We know Karn Co loves them. I will be genuinely knocked out of my chair, socks clean off my feet, completely flabbergasted if the map does not go to either Club or Oregon, because that's just the big overlap in the Venn diagram of these two teams' map pools. But they play it very differently. ATK, they're aggressive. They like to be in your face, as opposed to Karn Company. They're very structured. They're a 5v5 execute team that if you can disrupt them in the early round, their transitionary period will falter. So, for ATK, they just need to get out the ball rolling, like you were saying, enable those fraggers, get that early control, maybe get a pick here or there, especially on the defensive side, to absolutely crush the kneecaps of Karn Co.
One thing you mentioned, Connor, and I do agree, Karn Co has not, faced the creme de la creme, but even a few play days in, we're seeing a shift in the creme de la creme. LSR, who was the front runners, kind of, moving away from the front at the moment. So Karn Co, although they're 3-3, they've, depending on who they faced, it's still hard to say, are they one of the better ones? Are they one of the followers up? What are your ideas?
It's hard because I feel like for this, with ATK, we were saying like, oh, how are they going to match up on Club or Oregon? I feel like Karn Co shouldn't go to Club or Oregon. And I think CJ would agree, because what we saw when they played against West Garfield Park is that the play style that is probably the most similar to what ATK are going to bring to the table absolutely obliterated them on Chalet.
Yeah, I think Biologic talked about it in his interview. He went more in depth on, Karn's team. His team is very dry run oriented and whatnot. They're very strategic and meticulous. That's part of the reason Mike is playing so well. He's playing in an environment where he's talking about enabling all day. He's enabled by that. Karn sets him up for success. I mean, and for some reason, if you go to a map like Club Oregon, honestly, your dry runs matter less and less, I feel like, on those maps. You're not going to be able to woo anybody on those maps. So I would have imagined that maybe their map pool would be stronger and that they'd be able to potentially, like you said, the Venn diagram maybe make it a little bit bigger on their side to go to
Mhm.
different maps. But we're gonna see as we go to these map bins where we actually end up going.
So my question here for you, Cookies, as we go to the map ban, if we're not seeing a club in Oregon, what maps do you see benefiting either side if we were to go to them?
I,
And club gone right away.
Karn Company and Stamani Chalet is something too, right? I mean, I don't know. It's based on my photographic memory, I like them. I like the way they've looked on Chalet at times, but insta banning against ATK. And if I guess to answer your question, Brim, it's like I would say that a map like you see Theme Park banned out by ATK, that would have been a map where the Carnage V dry runs would shine through, right?
Mhm.
Maybe even you would think Border, but Border really hasn't. Border's still kind of stale in a way. I mean, some things have changed, but it's still a map where
It kind of
you
feels
know.
like it's almost gone. It was exciting for a bit, and then it's kind of felt like old Border again.
Yeah, I mean, I would say with that, to add in with like Skyscraper, uh, that's another map where I maybe figured the dry runs would have paid off. We saw it worked out for. I hate to bring the NAL into this, but Astralis, call out's another dry runner who loves it. The 10-hour dry runs, they looked good on Skyscraper against a strong team. Yet you're seeing Karn's team kind of banning it out. Maybe concerned about the wild nature of ATK on the map. I'm not sure. But Karn, as we get down to the final three, you called it, didn't you? You
Yep.
called it. Because he made that critical. I want to tell you, he made that critical point before we saw the bans, right? So CDAP's predicted it. He's literally the GOAT. He said it was going to come down to Oregon or club. Look at this. We're going
Yeah,
to
I
Oregon.
feel like this should have been manipulated by Karn Co to go to either Cafe or Skyscraper.
I don't know
But
how to,
we
I don't know how
also
I feel
don't
about
know
this one.
for the way of Karn Co if they have a Skyscraper, which I would hope that they would. They have 80 million support staff. They have Carnage basketball. They have the experience. They've been together as a team for so long. I would hope that they have a Skyscraper, but maybe that's just not the case. How they're going to be attacking this map, sort of from a philosophical standpoint, is they're club and Oregons. They're the nice default maps, and when you can't really throw the crazy wrenches into the side of Karn Co.'s attacks, then they have a lot more success. But with that being said, ATK on Oregon, their defense has an entire toolbox that they just keep on grabbing and throwing various giant large metal objects at you, hoping for you to fail.
Connor, do we know if at any point any team has a Skyscraper? Because we haven't seen it. It usually gets banned, I would say, mid or early. I'd be interested to see if we even see it at all. Now, the predictions. Crow going against the grain, as he does, Connor. Speak for Crow then. Speak for Karn Co. It looks like it's heavily favored ATK, but I think we might have a closer matchup than we thought.
I mean, it's hard to not have a close map on Club for Oregon.
Yeah.
It's either you're doing a little bit of trolling or you're just completely outplayed. And on a map such as Oregon, I mean, it's naturally going to be a lot more defender sided. And for Karn Co, their attacks do seem a lot more polished than ATK, even though that's kind of ironic. Like ATK, you think attack, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes they can struggle on it. So if ATK are not going to get the ball rolling on their defensive side, especially with their early roam presence and sort of getting back to site or picking off crucial pieces of the Karn Co team, then that's where things can get a little bit dicey, because I believe Karn Co does have the capability to have more success on the attacking side as opposed to ATK. But I'm still sold on the side of ATK, because if they get any momentum at all, they're just going to steamroll through.
Do you think, Cookies, when we look at the early standings that we've seen, as we said, we're about halfway through now through this stage, has ATK gotten it a little bit easier than Karn Co, and maybe that's why their points look as good as they do? Because they do have that forfeit under their belt from the heist. That adds round differential. It adds points. Karn Co, could you argue, has faced a little bit stiffer competition, only by a bit, though, I would say.
They have, but I think I don't want to slander any team in the league, right, and say the one's freer than the other. I think this season, I mean, it shows in the standings too. We're talking about the standings. There's a whole wedge between like 5th and 9th, and then the top 4 is really close. So I feel like every team is pretty good. And I guess common opponent, real quick. I know I don't want to go too long, but like Outlast, Outlast kind of made ATK look a little lost in their first part of their attack half, going back a little bit. So maybe your Karn Company, you saw that and they They're really confident going in this Oregon starting on defense, seeing how weirdly played ATK looked to start against Outlast. So that could be something to watch here initially in this game.
And well, here's the final question for you, Connor. Do you think going to Oregon between these two teams, are we going to see a defensive-sided Oregon, or are we going to see an attacker-sided Oregon?
I feel like it just has to be defender-sided, especially because ATK has historically struggled on the attack. And after all, it's Oregon. It's just Oregon. Is what it is. Sure, the LMGs might be boosting up some entry stats as the Finkas run in, hit their win button, and pre-fire you into oblivion. But at the end of the day, sure, you can bring your Osa, you can bring your whatever, but the prominence of things like the Vulcan shields from Goyo, just the overall power positions in areas that you can play on Oregon are always going to be stronger, a little bit more towards the defensive side. And if Karn Co really bring their best game on their defensive half, where, you know, they're really set up with utility and they're really forcing ATK to fight through these mini games that sometimes they could get lost in, then they could surge out to a quick lead.
Well, it seems that we've given you guys enough to digest at the moment. We're just having a bit of connectivity issues with some of the players. So we're going to flip to a quick break, let you kind of take in everything that we've given to you. And when we come back, we'll be getting to that match.
Hello, everybody. There we go. No faces, but we're finally in the match. There was some kind of like weird mix-up with Splash's internet or something, but we're here now. I'm Lynx, joined by John. You don't get to see our faces because we're so excited to get in the game.
Yeah, it took us a little while, but now that everything has settled in, we get to start up the first best of one of the day on Oregon, everybody's favorite comp map. And, you know, the desk had a lot to talk about here between both ATK and Karn Co, and a lot of it, I think it stands pretty strong. A lot to still be proven. ATK, they haven't played against a lot of strong teams just yet, and Karn Co still trying to figure out their basic stuff right now, still having a lot of main basic issues. So hopefully this best of one will fix some of those issues between both teams.
One thing I already want to talk about in the ban phase, obviously we have Thatcher Cade, so I'm not talking about that. It's just Thatcher Cade. Moving on entirely, Karn Co opted to ban the OSA, which the very first game we saw ATK play in Challenger League against Outlast, OSA was actually quite a big part of their attacking lineup, specifically on Meeting Hall and Kitchen, but also bringing it on other sites like Basement. So that being banned out first shows one, Karn Co are, well, they've done their homework, they are prepped. But that does also mean, as you can see Eddie pulling out, they have left a Ying on the board, which is something they banned out last week, and historically has been an operator that can throw a wrench in Karn Co's plans.
Not sure where the fifth player currently is.
I was about to say,
just a visual bug, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm really hoping here that Splash is fully in the lobby, and it's just connection being a little bit of a pain.
Nope, he's gone.
And he's gone. Nope. Well, all right then. Awkward. At least we potentially get all the rehosts out of the way first and foremost. If they even call one. Maybe not. Okay.
There we go. All right.
There we go. All right.
He said, eh. Fair enough. Yep. Now you can see us. Hello, I'm Lynx. This is John. Nice to meet you. You've never seen us before. But we did see a little bit. I mean, we saw that defensive site is Basement. Saw ATK bring in the Ying. It's obviously same site, same ops, though I'm not an admin, so I'm not going to make an official ruling, obviously, but I believe that might be it. So we will see that Ying in play unless, you know, they switch it. They can do that now. So who knows if they decide to stick it, if they were just baiting it out.
And Ying probably going to suit ATK very well. They love to get aggressive,
definitely.
like to go in these uncomfortable positions. Especially if you have a lot of trouble with clearing out, you know, blue bunker in that last second rotation. It's just an immediate bunker buster, quite literally. And Freezer as well. Yeah. I mean, Ying, she's very versatile, especially on the basement floor. Utility, always super strong in the meta right now. And that also frees up more room to play for grenades as well, which are also super strong right now. So Ying pick, awesome for ATK.
Yeah, and again, as I said earlier, it's something that Karn Co have historically, and when I say historically, I do mean kind of going back to the last year, the previous season. They've only played Oregon once this year against Nocturnes, and they won it pretty well. So not a lot to see from that matchup from Karn Co because, well, it was like a 7-2. Didn't really play a lot of rounds, period. But on previous iterations of this roster, you know, sometimes with Mikey, sometimes without, Yings and aggression, like the desk also brought up, have been something that Karn Co have struggled to deal with, especially on Oregon attacks as well. And getting aggressive on Oregon defense was something that ATK were more than happy to do. We, of course, have swapped sides from what I'm talking about right now. Karn Co starting out on the defense, ATK starting out on the attack. And the big issue that we saw from ATK last time as well was, well, an inability to really attack all that well. And specifically that Outlast game I mentioned, one of the main reasons they won was because Outlast outdid them in how bad you can be at attacking Oregon. They have made some developments since then. John, I'm sure you'll be fine expanding more on that, but it's still something that they are going to have to worry about going into this.
Yeah, the desk brought it up very well. We have Julian really sitting in a comfortable spot on that full support role. He's running at his teammates. They are doing phenomenal in the entry role. Both Splash and Ferda are doing just tons of work for their team with LMGs, and it has opened up a lot more options to just have more successful rounds overall. And across the pond for Karn Co, they still have some problems with just not being able to slightly adapt throughout the mid-round positions. If something doesn't go fully according to plan, it's just going to fail outright for them. We saw that a lot, even against West Garfield Park, where they had a little bit of variety mixed in and they just didn't know what to do at moments. So especially having the OSA banned out of all things here for Karn Co, looks like they did a bit more homework and they are willing to potentially change what they're used to, especially going into Oregon.
And I think that certainly serves Karn Co's benefit. They're kind of like DZ in many ways, and the desk brought this up again to bring another point they talked about. A very dry run heavy team, very prep heavy team. They go in with their plan. They like not having too many interruptions to it if they can help it. So we see that OSA ban, obviously going to have some counterplay around that. What entirely it is, well, Perhaps they'll just hopefully catch maybe the attackers from ATK on a little bit more difficulty moving into the site, get a bit more active once ATK goes in for the push later on. But another thing that's nice to see is for a team that, thrives on prep, it might be able to give them an edge in what has been an inconsistent season so far. Even on, maps like Chalet that we clearly saw, they went to it 3 times in a row. It's something they had prepped for, something they wanted to do. They had an abysmal showing on it. They had one really good game, and then the other ones were a strong series of losses. So hopefully that prep, going to a bit more of a standard map like Oregon, that historically at least, they might not have the best results, but it has favored their playstyle a little bit more. Hopefully that might be able to give them an edge in what can be an unpredictable opponent in ATK, and hopefully bring some consistency that they have been sorely lacking in the season up to this point.
And in general, in terms of predictability, you kind of get the idea of how ATK want to play. Hyper-aggressive. All of their players are good gunners at heart. So you know that you're probably going to have to get into a couple of early engagements depending on how you play. If you're going to go on that roam game, maybe you want to fall back a little earlier so you can guarantee you have that 5-on-5, especially for basement. So although we haven't gotten to see anything happen just yet, as we literally just hopped in round 1 and called a rehost, there is probably a lot of options for more passivity. Maybe we'll have a bigger emphasis on utility. We saw both Lamai and Jaeger, I think, to be on round number 1, which makes sense for basement, of course. The full bottom floor is super easy to hold down a bunch of super strong positions. So in general, we'll probably see more of that pushback here by Karn Co is what I would expect, because maybe they're not going to always be in the best position to not only win those opening gunfights, or at the very least trade it. Probably the safer call to make, especially against ATK.
Well, we are going to send it to a quick break, but I do want to say, could be a couple minutes, could be 30 seconds. We're just waiting on Splash to get back into the game, but until then, we're going to throw it to a quick break, but don't go anywhere. I promise. We'll be right back. Remember when I told you guys it'd only be like 30 seconds? What do you know? I'd never lead you astray. Hopefully, we'll be back permanently now. Splash DC before we even got into the round. So hopefully here, John, we can maybe see a little bit more for what Karn Co are going for with their defense, and maybe a little bit more for what ATK are going for. As we said, or as I alluded to, will be same site, same ops, but ATK are still allowed to repick their attacking operators via attacker repick. They have yet to do so. For all we know, could stick with that Ying, could stick with the lineup they've got going for right now. Right as I say that, Splash proves me wrong. He'll opt to go for the Twitch, but never mind. It's gonna be Blitz. Well, there goes. Gonna talk about the Ying, but my bad. Take the L.
Yeah, your fault. Just clearly your fault.
I thought,
you did not expect the bunker rush on round 1.
Gotta be 8 seconds left. Probably sticking it.
Surely. Surely they figured out they wanted to go for what they had envisioned at the beginning of round 1. No. They change up the dynamic at the very last second. It does make sense, though, for ATK, especially, again, having that immediate aggression. They're confident in winning those gunfights early on. I mean, a blue rush, it just seems so up their alley, especially starting off on round number 1. But ATK, they don't want to immediately hop into it. They still want to clear up big tower. They don't want to get flanked while they're fully committing in towards the blue bunker side. And because they still have Haban on the board, Julian did not repick. They can get the E-box hatch open on up and have, more than one direction to approach upon, and not just, all rush in through blue bunker, because that'd be a funnel, which is never good.
Yeah, there's still some work to do before you send that blitz up through that bunker. If you, of course, you want to open up that E-box hatch, give you another entry point and another vantage point from which to look through. But also, you could, of course, open that, like the right or the left panel looking into E-box to put pressure on Feltwinter's position. And by pushing Feltwinter out of there, maybe pushing him back towards Harry Potter or Pillar. He can't really contest the bunker doorway all that well, and that really puts a lot of the burden of fending off the blitz on Karn, playing elbow behind that shield. Yet to see any of them do that yet, but as the X-Kairos are going down, perhaps we'll see that plan come to fruition in short order.
Winter at least having a bit of util to make sure the immediate stuns cannot fly out. That could strengthen the position here of both Whitlock and Feltwinter. But depending on the coordination here by not only Feltwinter, or pardon, not only by Whitlock, sorry, but also Mikey, this could actually allow for a pretty good pincer maneuver on the player next to Barrow Doorway. That could allow a very early first pick. So this first engagement, especially on towards the Lamai, is really going to make or break, and he has to get aggressive and lose that fight. So it's a man advantage favoring ATK, but not for long.
Ooh, yeah, Mikey comes back with a big kill on the splash, but there's still the blitz that we've been talking about this whole time, forcing Karn to waste some utility, specifically those smokes. He's only sent out one, so if Eddie wants to keep wasting that, he'll have to spend a lot of time before he can send his shield and stomp a blue bunker. Carnage also has that shield to play behind as well, so they need to be careful. Grismont goes in. It's triggered as Whitlock gets a kill, but it's even once again. Neither team able to get too much ground on this push so far. Another smoke goes out, and Eddie takes that as his opportunity to send it on up, but he's losing a lot of damage to people shooting his feet, and Mikey, in the end, is enough to deal away with the entire talking point we had about ATK's push. Now they're left to do something a little bit more standard. Just push into the site, hope to play for those kills, and really here, losing a lot of what they need. They might have 2 nades, but they don't have a lot of time. Silent will work his way on in, but neither have recovered the diffuser just yet. So as the C4 goes over, it actually goes too far. Silence worked his way on in, and Karn Co weren't fully aware from it. He'll hit a nice shot onto Mikey, knows there's somebody around bunker, but Zeno from behind cuts him down, and Karn with the reposition gets the final kill of the round and gets his team, the one who takes their namesake after him, for their first round.
The team play for Karn Co significantly better. Despite the fact we had Furta get the opening duel and show a lot of immediate aggression inside of Blue Bunker, we still had people, in particular Mikey, help out both with the back tower stairs position and also people rushing in from elbow. Although the smoke was fully blind, he had the coverage of that shield, and the comms were really strong, allowing Mikey to swing in, get that kill in the blitz, and weaken everything that was happening in Blue Bunker. And then, like you mentioned, in that 2 versus 3, it had to come down to a rather basic / linear push while you're already at the disadvantage and don't really even have a lot of resources to gather information or just put yourself in a position to really earn that 2 versus 2 position. So overall, good hold by Karn Co, and they were able to adapt very quickly despite that blitz rush that was being attempted by ATK.
See if ATK opt to go for it again. Normally, we have seen teams, run that blitz. We've seen PB do it on basement, seen Wichita Wolves, now Ape, now Aerial Rise on basement. Specifically when Call It was on the team. Here, don't see Dorms that often. Saw, again, that Wichita Wolves roster, last year, send a blitz on through Attic, but not really all that common. And it appears here, ATK gone with the strategy of just using the blitz for basement, but instead focusing on the Ying for other sites. Presence of a Ying might indicate more of a focus on big window than again with ATK. And as we mentioned on basement, those Ying Candelas can really help you on any kind of angle you want to go towards the site from.
Just helps out. It forces away Karn Co, makes them think twice about where exactly they want to play from, especially if you already have that man advantage. For ATK, we had Fur to get that first kill, and although he didn't have all that much backup in the world, now that ATK kind of had that feel around, they should be able to play a bit more cohesive than what we really saw in round 1. Already having Furta try to expose the Malusi, plenty of coverage there by Julian as well with the drone to fully indicate where exactly he's playing at. So not the worst setup just yet by ATK. Now having backup by Splash as well, it does potentially allow that, trade system to go in through for ATK. So it's just only a matter of time before they try to flush out this Malusi.
Feltwinter can, of course, provide some assistance from above. Furta's got a nice angle on the Malusi, though drone isn't very well hidden. Just kind of in the middle of kitchen, though Karn does not see it, though I do believe he just shot it. ATK lost half their drones the first minute, so make that, majority of their drones in the first minute, so will need to be careful. Might have to start relying a bit too heavily on that Gemini replicator if things start going too sour, their drone economy overall. Karn Co right now have not met much resistance, as ATK, outside of this extension, have been getting some good intel, but in terms of ground, not much.
not having anybody rotate into Master, more or less just looks like it might be a last-second attempt to hop in through both the big window and potentially even white stairwell. Splash on the rappel is actually going to catch Xeno in a bad spot, so it's still going to be that 5-on-4 favoring ATK, but like you mentioned, Carter, not a lot of ground covered so far by ATK, and not even removing this position in the first floor allows for vertical to be played to deny that post plant, which just makes this position even better for Karn Co in the final minute.
You see the Candelas go out, and Julian will just send it on in, loses almost all of his HP as he hops through that window, and unfortunately a bit poor of a containment on Dorms, ends up losing the diffuser and Julian inside of the site. They're doing a good job of getting the kills as well, but as Karn goes up to try and retake, there's one behind him, but everyone in site's going down. It's all Splash to try to pick this back up, but Eddie's picked back up too by the adrenal surge from Ferda. Now Mikey's in a bit of a tricky situation. Ferda's watching the angle, and he can't really rotate very well when he's got to run through an LMG, so ATK in a very hectic take, or very hectic execute, and late round I should say, take their first round on attack.
Still having the cutoffs there for ATK, it did deny the rotate, or pardon the retake, I should say, by Karn Co to actually be that effective. And not planting default as well, it was very risky for Julian, but it also did stop that vertical from happening, really forcing the hand of Karn Co there. And we did manage to see enough aggression by Eddie to at least hop back or hop into sight and still get that refrag. And all the ATK had to do at that point was just play for the man advantage, because they had really every position on lockdown, so they really could have forced that plant to happen once again, despite Julian ended up falling and dropping the case in the middle of kids.
Karn Co hopping quickly to a different site, not opting to try Dorms again. They'll just go down towards Meeting Hall and Kitchen. We'll see Eddie tease that Ying once again. Saw him switch to a Maverick for about half a second, but since the Ying did them so well in the previous round, I would not be surprised if somebody decides to take it this time, but clearly some indecision as to what kind of operator they want to go for. For the setup that Karn Co are bringing out in response, Ying can certainly work, Maverick could work. Really, depending on what kind of execute you're going for ATK, they like to favor going on that stage, trying to get a plant down there. Maverick and Ace, that'll work perfectly fine. You don't really need the Ying. It can help, but it's not necessary for how they like to play this site.
Especially since when you have to go in for that stage plant, you need to get this top floor almost completely cleared out. If not, just have somebody actively playing an addict to make sure nobody can actually move up from that position, and they have to fall back in through white stairs leading into Z or security itself. So yeah, like you mentioned, the Ying, not all that helpful during that post-plant setup. Could maybe help clear out the top floor more effectively, but you would probably rather want to rely on those grenades instead. But despite, not having the Oso or the Ying, looks like we'll have a split push in play instead by ATK, just once again falling into that aggression stylization. And it seems like Karn Co, they've got that idea, and now they can try to reposition to deny this push from happening near garage and main lobby.
But it still comes against an issue that you mentioned, is you need to clear out or contain this top floor. If they can play on the hatch or play with that vertical, you can still make good, or a lot of things happen. Bit of a questionable play by Splash, just walks into split with a nade in his hand and, well, directly into Carnage B's crosshairs. Just gives his life up at that point, and what could have been maybe not a man advantage for ATK, but a 5v5 and some more utility play is now a lot more difficult because of, well, maybe some poor positioning or timing by Splash.
Once again, seems like, or not even once again, but ATK now actually trying to jump the gun. We saw the exact opposite on round one, where they really took a lot of time, and it did end up forcing them to fail a little bit because they just were a little bit too short on the seconds heading in for that basement push. Now trying the exact polar opposite, Karn Co really had a perfect read into that, completely changed up how exactly they wanted to hold this middle floor, and now ATK, because of the fact they really jumped the gun, they are now in a pretty poor position, but Julian just hops in meeting room. No one seems to be aware of that. Finds one onto Whitlock, so now we're in the 4 versus 4, and Ferda gets aggressive as well. ATK now take the advantage and could potentially try to go for a plant.
Yeah, but the problem is they're a little bit separated right now. Karn has used all of his smokes, but on the exit, Julian, who has to rotate out, takes a lot of damage. This gives an opportunity for Mikey to start moving into the site. Karn could hold down Kitchen, though there's one coming from behind. It's Mikey who can make the big play, and he does so. Takes down Julian, who is already low on health. Silence also worse for wear, and fortunately Mikey's more trapped in, locked in with the Zofia, than Silent is locked in with Mikey. Now Karn all alone got the first kill, so much so, Splash even DC'd after that. He'll now go for the retake on stage, but oh no, right as he peeks, Eddie turns around, and ATK get their second. We'll have to see if Splash can get back in time.
So I guess the thought process for Karn Co was, once they got that first kill, they understood that ATK were going to try to slow down a bit, but probably weren't expecting the re-swing, I suppose. Hopping in for the second time towards site, Julian just opened up a big kill for his team, and then we eventually saw a late rotate as well, which kind of caused a bit of a cross-eye moment there for the one defender stuck in the middle of meeting room, and then ATK just kind of took the wheel once again, 3 versus 1, then 3v0. So far, their attacks are looking much better, but not even trying to clear out the top floor definitely seemed a bit questionable. And if we had Karn Co just remain calm and still play for that trade system like they were doing very early in that 3rd round, I feel like they would have taken that win.
The nice thing about ATK though, and I think this does work to their benefit, is if you look at how they're trying to tackle these sites, they're not trying to go for those full clears or get anything too complex, which can obviously hurt you. If you don't clear out the roam, well, you have to be conscious of those vertical angles, see whether there's somebody playing the hatch or who could rotate through big tower. You got to be careful about that. But for ATK, their big problem was getting bogged down in those details, taking too long to clear things out, and to the point where they'd either lose the round on the top floor, say if they were trying to clear a roam, or they'd take so long to do it, they barely had enough time to move towards the site. What have they been doing for every single site? They've been trying to get their little area accounted for. You know, they've minimized pillar, and they can run into bunker. They try to hold down, aggressively playing up in dorms, and jump into big window. And on this, they try to open up the split wall, stop anybody from taking a gunfight with them in meeting itself, and then going in and going for a plant. ATK are kind of recognizing in a way the weaknesses they've had of getting in the weeds with a lot of, you know, the more broader, maybe complexities of the attack, going for full clears, and instead trying to keep things simple and trying to counter one of those weaknesses by not even really allowing them to come through with the kinds of takes they're going for.
Expecting ATK now to not want to immediately go into blue bunker this time around. They could potentially opt to go in through laundry like you had mentioned. But no matter where exactly ATK want to go through, they definitely have plenty of util to clear out any of these positions, even heading in through elbow. Perhaps if they're able to destroy that mute jammer, that allows their Trojans to fly in through, break the shield, completely deny the ADSs, and force a very early fallback for Karn Co inside a blue bunker. But if they want to go freezer as well, the same thing applies, especially if there is a shield actually located either near highway next to the kill holes stacked up, leading from laundry into the site, or just, you know, directly inside a freezer. So whatever ATK wants to go for, they've got plenty of stuff to help out clear the way for them. But so far, it looks like they are just still going to go for the exact same thing, get immediate big tower control, open up that meeting hatch, and then late rotate into blue bunker.
I mean, there's no really need to. They can play this, you know, by the books for how they did previously, except instead of a blitz, they have a Ying, they have a Flores as well, as you mentioned, plenty of utility to destroy these shields. They don't have to do a lot of thinking when you have to wonder, okay, how do we counter this? Because, well, they already did a fairly good job before, but they just kind of got caught up on the entry into sight, so maybe this utility will be a good tool to account and compensate for that. One other thing that just barely escaped them was a Feltwinter here. Not for long. He was forced to run into bunker, and they got a kill later on, but it still allowed Mikey playing this position to get a kill in response. So maybe we'll see some nades come through here, maybe something a bit more solid to stand on going into the final half of the round.
Having all those flashes as well to help burn through both the ADSs and magnets just generally weakens the overall positions here of Karn Co, and that's going to also force a lot of struggling to happen for that general team play. The swings might not be as perfectly timed as they were in round number 1, and once again, that could just allow ATK to play into their strengths, isolate those 1-for-1s, and just straight up dominate Karn Co in the killing department.
Well, first nade, first magnet, first smoke grenade, all burned or utilized by both the attack and the defense. Now the utility coming through. Feltwinter starting to feel a little shaky on his position. Eddie might send these Candelas. Yes, he will send them in. He'll sprint on through. Karn caught completely off guard. Though Feltwinter trades back onto silent, it's still Eddie taking full and firm command of elbow, cutting the sight now in 2. He can hold this position very effectively with Splash pushing from behind as well. The player playing on laundry is feeling very precarious right now, but Whitlock just sends it up on long. Doesn't care whatsoever. He's made his team's job a whole hell of a lot easier, though Julian and Splash both clean up very quick in the final couple seconds of the round. Very big kill by Whitlock to take down that position, but in the end, ATK were still able to win those gunfights.
And especially when you're fully blind, it's just so much harder to actually listen in for audio. You are worrying about if you have someone to back you up there. It was that complete shock factor that ATK loves to bring out that really just put Karn Co in such a bad position, and we saw the predictability there. Once again, the exact same play of where Mikey swings in from elbow to help out the smoke. Eddie already knew that was going to happen, went in for the pre-fire, got rid of both Mikey and the smoke at the exact same time. Instant man advantage. They had someone pushing in from the backside of laundry. Julian was gathering plenty of information, so even if his teammates died, he could still get that refrag once he just hops down through the hatch. That was well thought out by ATK and a much better performance overall, especially since they had the util and burn to actually enable the Ying and the rest of their teammates to get aggressive.
Now moving to dorms, even here, the coordination that they were able to exhibit, jumping in through big window and trying to get the bomb down behind the bunk bed, was still fairly good overall. The only real problem that we saw, Julian losing a lot of his HP, mainly to Karn playing inside of dorms. Well, I believe it actually might have been Felt playing inside of dorms, but it was the Smoke playing in that position. And the reason they weren't really able to deal with it was they decided not to clear out Kitchen early on. Karn, the Melusi, was able to just sit in there the whole time, and ATK were like, ah, crap, we'll just have to deal with it going in for our execute. Here, I would like to see them maybe try a little bit more to push that Melusi back, maybe take that Kitchen control. I know they want to keep things simple. They don't want to get bogged down too much, but it would elevate and alleviate a lot of the problems they had for how they wanted to take this site previously. But then again, Julian is on Amaru this time, so who knows what could happen.
They might just try to completely ignore this push altogether, go for big window, have Julian hop up either through the hatch, depending on if there's anyone aggressively holding in Kitchen, or he hops in through Kid's window instead, not the hatch from Kitchen. I mean, the possibility is definitely limitless, especially if we have a bunch of noise and suppression happening over towards big window. Unfortunate for Splash. But if we have a lot of commotion happening near either Kitchen or hopping in through the big window, that could give a big opportunity for Julian to step into sight and just catch everybody off guard, find a bunch of kills, and completely throw off what Karn Co had to anticipate moving into that final few moments where they have to expect that execute. But having Splash disconnect, pretty bad time, especially now that that gives a lot more leeway for Karn Co, as that's just a whole player down for ATK.
Yeah, that's so far been unfortunate that ATK have been having to deal with, well, whatever is going on with Splash. Hell, maybe the Amaru, they got something cooking up. Maybe they can make it work here. Not sure, though. Difficult to just have a 4v5 thrust upon you immediately. Nice shot, or I guess nice nade by Feltwinter, though. Or not nade onto Feltwinter, I should say. Now Julian will sprint in response. And the nice thing we have here, they have Kitchen control. They don't have to worry about the Smoke doing as much damage to the player hopping in through the big window as they did last time. Now the unfortunate thing here is, as I said earlier, Feltwinter can be revived, and ATK are still permanently down a man, though nice coverage by Julian, baiting out Feltwinter to be revived, ends up cementing that a little bit more firmly.
Ooh, Ferda holding the cutoff as well. Almost caught Whitlock, but he thinks better of it. Just wants to fall back to the site because you can't even revive Feltwinter. He's being hard baited right now, like you mentioned, Carter. So essentially that 4 versus 3. And again, I don't think they're aware Julian is currently on the Amaru. He might just try to get aggressive, full-fledged, and
really
just hop in through one of these windows. But because he found a kill, I would imagine they understand what op he's bringing right now for these final 40 seconds.
Oh no, another nade should be perfectly placed. Oh no, it's actually on the opposite side of a concrete wall. Sad to see. Well, you're an ATK fan, sad to see. Xeno's perfectly happy with that. He'll look, say, oh, that was wild, and then just get on with his life. Keep holding these angles, make sure to stop anybody from pushing up white, alongside Whitlock as well. But Julian's waiting. He goes up the Gara hook, or goes up with the hatch, but he's shot immediately by Karn. And since they never cleared out dorms, that's kind of the problem, but it doesn't matter. ATK win the round anyway. Don't know how that happened. I honestly thought that Karn Co won that because of the play we just saw. That goes to show, not every play you see is emblematic of the overall trend of the round.
Nope, especially again since ATK, they are just playing into their strengths constantly. It's just get aggressive, work for that pick, establish man advantage, weaken the general positions of Karn Co, and make sure they cannot trade. Because ATK, again, they have solid gunners across the board. Even Julian, who's on that hard support role, he can go for those kills when they matter most. We saw that on round number 3, and we saw that heading into, actually no, it was round 4. Where we saw Laundry, where Julian found a couple nice kills dropping down the hatch. And then we saw it on round number 5 as well, where he was just baiting in Kitchen for a long time. Only issue I really had with that was, in general, just having Julian with the case. If we had somebody in big window with it, and then we had Julian, throwing flashes if he had them, I think he had secondary breach. That could have been a much better play. But still, like you mentioned, it worked out despite the fact things got a little sloppy for ATK. Didn't matter because they had the man advantage.
We'll see Splash reconnect. I actually don't know how joining back interacts with attacker repick. I don't know if it still seals you out completely or if you actually get the option to choose your op. Haven't had to think about that or deal with it, so see if you can manage to pick something, or if my boy gets random opt. I'm not too sure what. Oh, looks like he will be sitting out this round, unfortunately.
Probably not the worst thing, though, I could assume. It is Laundry at the site you're expected to lose, and you've already gotten 4 rounds on the attack.
That's true.
Is incredibly impressive. I know that Des mentioned how this would still be a very defensive-sided Oregon, and I think that's still absolutely true despite the scoreline we're seeing right now. It's just more momentum-based, if anything.
Just ATK doing really well.
Right, and both Karn Co and ATK, establishing what they can kind of get away with. Karn Co just currently not getting away with all that much besides the masterful team play, but that was really what it read into, by ATK after round 1. So despite the fact we have a very attacker-sided matchup at the moment, that could potentially change moving in the second half.
Yeah, might just be more ATK sided depending on once we get to round 7.
Right.
See how that one ends up panning out. Could still be a 4-2 half for Karn Co because, well, as you can guess, Splash not being in the game kind of makes things a little bit more difficult to get a clear started, even with ATK opting to go a bit more minimal with their setups, not trying to get too crazy or too complex. Starting at a 4v5, even those minimal setups just got a whole lot more intricate and problematic now that you're down a man to start out. You don't need me to tell you that, but just to kind of set the stage for what could be, based on how ATK are playing, some still potential success going in the rest of the round. Even with that 4v5 last round, they were still able to win it, not handily, but still at a fairly good margin for what they started out with. With the utility they have on the board, even with Splash gone, they can clear out a lot of this utility as well.
Well, the second nade not going to meet
All
its
right, well,
mark, and Mikey just catches Eddie off guard. So, yeah, no.
Never mind.
This
All
is
right,
not
my bad.
looking to be all that good of a round here for ATK.
All right, my bad.
Silent having to expect 2 different positions, just get shot at the other one, not taking the 50-50 guess, and Carnage cleans it up onto Julian.
I mean,
flawless rounds, technically speaking here.
I try to be
Karn Co.
positive. I was like, hey guys, they might still do it.
No. I think the biggest problem was just because they didn't have their 5th player, who would normally bring a lot more util. That's kind of what caused everything to go haywire.
Yeah.
And although they had good guns, and again, good fraggers, they just weren't in a good position to clear out all the shields and the crossfires. So, yeah, just didn't look good. But again, that was around Karn Co. We're expected to take, not only because it was a 5v4 of the bat, but because it's Laundry, considered one of the best sites, if not the best site, on Oregon. And now we get to see how well ATK can perform here on this site, because now the site's finally switched.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. And if we continue with the trend we've seen before, this is looking a lot more like their West Garfield Park game, where, in Outlast, there's a question of who can attack worse. Whereas against West Garfield, they were actually able to get a lot of attack rounds. It was, well, same thing. I believe they got maybe, I think, 3 rounds on the attack, if I recall correctly. Actually, wait, I can go check. Silly me. Yeah, they got 3 rounds on the attack, if I do believe. And so here, they're able to get a 3-3 half, end up winning 7-4 against West Garfield, or I believe I'm reading that stat correct. Oh, it's actually 4 attacks. Excuse me. It was better than I thought. So if we're still on that trend, 4-2 attacks, if they're able to get the defenses that we know they can on Oregon, this should be an ATK win if, well, Karn Co aren't able to bring something new to the table.
That is, of course, theoretic speaking. Not too sure if ATK is a team that really enjoys just flat-out theoretics and going by the stock standard, I guess, since they are a very aggressive team. And it looks like that aggression will actually punish them. Mikey's going to outduel Splash. That's the 5-on-4 once again now for Karn Co. And looks like everything is just going business as usual for them right now. Already got Big Tower. They can open up the hatch if they want to, because Whitlock is rocking the Habana. So everything just going according to plan. And then they've got the main advantage to boot as well.
This is a really nice position, too, because normally, well, as we saw with Karn Co, well, Mai like to play the position that Eddie's playing right now, but since they're bringing the Ella, that's another contender for playing that spot at the blue bunker doorway. So it's Eddie taking up that mantle, but you still will leave Eddie kind of high and dry, not having a lot of the magnets he could. He'll probably be pushed out of that position a whole lot earlier, and Karn Co, again, a team that tends to be a bit more structured, tends to move a little bit on the slower side, could probably find a lot more ground, even past that first kill on the Splash, without having to do too much extra work in terms of gaining map control or things like that. Now, of course, if ATK can dodge their utility or even get aggressive and get a kill, that all could change. But at least based on how we're looking right now, it's seeming like Eddie's going to face a hell of a lot of pressure momentarily.
Especially since at the moment, I don't think anybody's pillar might be someone watching through the single wall, but there could be a very nice isolation setup here against Eddie, and that would probably force maybe the smoke player of Julian to go for a fallback as well, giving away a lot of map pressure and a potential 5 versus 3. There's a Nitro Cell, and it's still just a 1-by-1 lineup. No one's here to back up the Nomad. Finally, Finka drops down, but Silence there at the ready, and just like that, it's a perfect round. Held up by ATK. What was that, Karn Co?
Like, John, did I, like, fall asleep? Was it, like, 15 seconds left in the round? And I wasn't...
No, they had, like, well over a minute.
Rhetorical question. I did not fall asleep. Just want to get that out there.
I didn't think you were, Carter.
I know.
It's okay.
I was just,
Maybe you blinked though and you missed what happened.
Well,
that's what I assumed.
But the point I'm trying to make is, why did they drop 1-by-1 with no pillar control, no bunker control, and we still had more than a minute left in the round? I think maybe Karn Co getting a little bit too ahead of themselves? Maybe I'm missing something. But without solid pillar control or clearing Eddie out of that position, and their only counters seem to be sending a Finka down back tower stairs, who did it way after the attack dropped. I think there might have been some kind of error in conception there for Karn Co.
Timing and comms for sure, because like you and I both jokingly mentioned, it was single file, everyone just waiting in line to drop down E-Box. All right, I'm dead. You take my spot. All right, you're dead. You could take his spot. And then also the Finka late pushing after all the damage had been done. You don't have to worry about E-Box anymore. You just need to take care of Bunker, which your smoke is already handling quite fine, and also backstairs. Now you get 2 people from both pillar and the single wall to go tag team that. So it just seemed like Karn Co wanted to be aggressive to catch ATK off guard, and they just miscommunicated that, or, you know, like I said, for ATK a couple of rounds prior, just potentially jumping the gun. But when you already had a very underwhelming first half on your defense, you can't be making those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, and now they'll take their tactical timeout, which I think is a good time. Obviously, you could probably argue, you know, maybe they should have taken it earlier, but definitely here after losing a round like that, when you literally had the first pick gifted to you by Splash. Oh, the Wamaya is well taken down, so that's all that projectile that now you could have worried about. Yeah, good time, take a pause, talk things over, sort things through. Here, for dorms, what do you know? Splash, getting a little aggressive. I think we've actually seen ATK do this before, John, or see somebody peek the double door, somebody peek from kitchen. I don't know if it was ATK, maybe it was somebody else, but I have seen this before. Maybe Karn Co will be able to read into it, but most people are on the other side of the map, so likely Silent and Splash will just retreat in a couple of seconds.
Might have been one of those more lopsided games, perhaps. I'm trying to remember it as well, but for another time, I guess we'll have to bring it up the next time we see Oregon, which is probably rather soon, as a lot of people like going to this map in the comp scene.
Double swinging like that, not exactly the most uncommon thing on the face of the earth, though. Eddie breaks open that window. That's certainly unexpected. That's your Ying off the board, too. Big strategy, big rotation, and big pick by Eddie.
Well, not even going to have the man advantage favoring Karn Co off the bat. Mikey, one of your more impactful players because he's on that Ying, is completely off the board and no more utility to play with. Eddie, once again, finding another one, and you only have 3 grenades to work with at this point. Things are not looking hopeful here for Karn Co, as they just got to hope they can isolate, work a couple of kills, and maybe then they can equalize. But even then, they're getting in engagements and still losing them at the moment.
They still have that Hibana and that Maverick, so they can open up a lot of the angles that are going to make their life a lot more easier, opening up that bedroom wall. I don't know if at this point they can really afford to send either the Hibana or the Maverick over to Attic to open that. They certainly can in terms of, you know, utility and time, but in terms of manpower, you might just have to deal with that bedroom wall and cede Big Tower and Attic to the defense and focus on what little you can control, or you can control in a 3v5. Taking down Ferda needs to be a big priority, or at least recognizing that he's there. Because if he's playing close with that shotgun and you don't make good use of Xeno's nades, you're probably going to get ripped to shreds as you try to move into, again, make what little you can out of what you have.
Xeno wants to get aggressive. Could maybe try to kill out Carnage. That has to be a gunfight you need to win. Or not even Carnage, sorry, my mistake. Thinking of the other smoke player. That's actually mute. Ferda that being. Wrong team and wrong player. That's double on me, my fault. But 15 seconds left to go. Here comes the swing, and Xeno is still not going to win that altercation. Having a couple more finger boosts to play with, that'll heal him up a little bit, but still, these key angles still being held by ATK, they can really just play in most of these positions, besides probably close to Attic wall, and just be completely safe in these final 30 seconds.
Can't believe Ferda actually managed to cross that. Unfortunate that Karn Co are not able to pick that one up. I guess his C4 misses, but that's about the only real good thing going for the attack right now. After those early picks, they have so far failed to equalize, compensate, consolidate, whatever word you want to use. They haven't really been able to make the most of the little that they have. Ferda just immediately gets 2 as Xeno Whitlock both walk right into his spray. Karn can just pick up that final kill, that first kill of the round. But Splash pretty effectively dispatches him after that. 2 rounds in a row for ATK on their defenses, just 1 win on a tertiary site or 1 future win on basement and dorms, and they get a regulation win.
Karn Co just expecting the same dry cut play that you would expect maybe in a scrim almost. They did not expect Eddie to be playing in Big Tower, so as Mikey is rotating onto the roof to go play Big Window as the Ying, you know, the default, he dies. And then as they try to contest him again, because they probably want to go for more of an Attic take now that the Ying is gone, Eddie finds another one. His job is already done, 5-on-3, and now you are just twiddling your thumbs, wondering what just happened to your whole team when the proof is just in the pudding there. match point so early in the day already for ATK. They just need one more clean round, not even on this site, but on the basement, which is, again, incredibly defender favored, or even going back to kids later on, and that's the game over and done with.
Yep. See ATK here. Believe we've seen before Splash go to that dock on Meeting Hall and Kitchen. I'm going to be honest. I know he's got the BP. I don't really know why Splash brings dock out of all ops, but it's been working so far. Plus, they're up 6-2, so I'll take it. We'll see Julian bring out that Mira, who, as we did not mention, don't think we mentioned much, was unbanned, but neither team have opted to bring it. Here, Julian will decide to put some black mirrors down on the map. Probably both down towards that site. One maybe looking outside into dining, maybe one looking over into meeting as well, I would imagine. We'll have to see what that happens. Splash, surprise, surprise. Going for a spawn peek. Hope he doesn't die. Then again, even when he dies early, ATK still ended up winning the round, so it might not matter too much.
Don't know if the drone actually spotted him or not. This could be a potential kill, but no. Silent's just going to fall back. It's going to go join up rest of their teammates and just play for this top floor control as long as humanly possible. Feltwinter, Ash charging, was that the single wall leading into laundry stairs? All right, then. Thought he would maybe want to open up classroom breach to get rid of the mute jammer, but guess that's not going to be the intentions there. Maybe it was to kill somebody early on or just force somebody playing a top laundry to fall back, but no one's sitting there, so a bit of waste utility. Oh, well, it happens. But for Karn Co, now having Splash leave again. God, his ISP just hates it today, apparently. At least that's something nice to start here for Karn Co again.
Wow. I've not seen this many disconnects from a single player in quite a while. But oh no, John. Now ATK might have to get aggressive, play off the site, bring the man count back. Lord knows. They just can't do that. That's something they can't do. Okay, well here it actually... Okay, well hold up. I was being sarcastic. I didn't think... Okay, hold up. I did not think they would actually collapse in that dramatic of a fashion. Silent doing a nice recovery, though. Gets two very nice shots onto Feltwinter and Karn. There's one just outside inside a garage as well. He can get aggressive. Oh, wow. Surely that's Diffuser as well. Surely this is not the comeback we are about to see. Karn Co likely scrambling in the comms now. As Silent has the positioning. And Karn Co, they have time. They don't exactly are positioned right now in a way to fully take advantage of Silent being stuck in this position. Flashbang goes out, and now Mikey will take that opportunity to take this from another angle. The door is not opened up. He'll send it on in. Silent's got to be careful. Spots one for just a second. Dodges the nade, but as the door rips open in front of him, he gets the pre-fire. He's downed him. Xeno's going in for the finish, going in for the kill to save the round. This would be a humiliating way to lose 7-2 to ATK. Xeno's got to be careful. He's got an LMG. No nades. He's got all the bullets, but he's starting to run out of time in the 1v1. Still playing it safe.
He's got a Finka boost, though.
He does. He does have a Finka boost, so he can boost his health just a little bit more and get Mikey back up. That's what's important. Mikey breaks the barricade, distracts Silent for a second. He runs out, but that gives away his position, and Mikey can spray him through the wall. A dangerous gamble by Silent, but a good attempt nonetheless. And again, they're still 6-3. They just have to win one more round.
I am glad, though, Carter. I am glad that Karn Co took a second to just slow down and breathe. They were giving so many one-for-ones there at the end to Silent, and he almost won that. If he had finished off Nomad, there was a good chance he actually out-dueled the Finka there. That was a strong chance, but because we had Karn Co finally realize, guys, we're in a 1vx. We can just push in from outside. We can late rotate. We can play for the advantage. We should still get this win. That's all that had to happen. They finally got it. So they have another chance at redemption against ATK. But like you and I have mentioned, it didn't matter that ATK lost that middle floor site because they can just go back to basement. They can go back to kids. They've got rounds to bleed here.
Again, they'll probably be playing in that 4v5. No attacker repick on defense, so even if Splash joins back, he's not getting an op. Overall, just an unlucky situation for ATK, but we'll see if they can make the most of it and what Karn Co decide to go for. As we mentioned before, when Splash was killed early on, not disconnected, he was actually taken off the board forcibly by Karn Co. We hypothesized that maybe we'd see Eddie face a lot more pressure, and then they just kind of one-by-one drop down E-Box hatch. So I would hope that Karn Co, now that the 4v5 is given to them once again, will make a bit better use of it.
Well, we jokingly mentioned that ATK are completely fine with getting aggressive and simply winning those gunfights. Let's hope we don't
That was
give them the good old Casper curse
probably
again around number 10.
probably the most poorly timed segment I've ever had.
Just a 0 to 100. Then we kept it at 100 for a very long time when Silent was going crazy and getting his ones. And then we went back down to a calm level after Karn Co. Also calmed themselves down. And they should still be playing, taking their time, not worrying about getting incredibly aggressive to go for those gunfights because they still have the 5-on-4. And that is going to allow ATK to probably play a bit more passive. They've got everyone stacked up in the basement floor. This just gives a better position for Karn Co. overall. They can take their time opening the hatches, getting that util burn stacked up, and the timing should hopefully be better in comparison to what we saw in the first defensive round.
They're being a bit more extensive about this, so hopefully that indicates at least a change in thought process, if not a change in execution. See what happens. Focusing a lot more on Freezer this time as well, so definitely trying to change their minds and go for something a little bit different that might not prove as disastrous. You also see Karn and Mikey moving in through Laundry, likely to send out some flashes, then go for the plant, but they do have to do a little bit more work to clear out Freezer. Can't just run in right now.
20 to go. They've spotted out both Julian and Silent. They expect somebody behind that washing machine near the closet rotate. Flashes are flying in through. Julian, though, still wins the fight inside of closet. Down goes Mikey, but the grenade is solid. Still the man advantage now for Karn and Co. Feltwinter loses a lot of health. That could be an easy trade position, but so many players stacked up in Laundry, it's only a matter of time before we see this push fully unfold, and Eddie gets caught in a bad spot, trying to go for an incredibly late flank, and now he has to retake the site in a 1 versus 4 post-plant position. Looks like we're going to have another round here for Karn Co. Unless Eddie can win this. Finds 1 and 2. Hold on a minute. He might have a chance. He's low on HP, but he could maybe hit these shots. Nope. Karn Co. Another close call, but they still win it out during the post-plant position this time.
Dude, my heart dropped when Eddie got those 2 kills. Like, what? That was something. Anyway. Again, ATK only have to win 1 round, but Splash's ISP is currently doing the absolute most for Karn Co. right now. Somebody got paid off. And they probably work at I don't know, AT&T, Comcast. I don't know what ISP Splash has. But somebody over at the internet company's putting in the work right now. Hopefully he can stay here, or if he gets DC'd, he can put down the black mirrors before he disconnects. I just saw him running up Freezer stairs, though, so I don't know. Okay, he's making a rotate. Good. Okay, just checking. It's like, where is he going? Confused.
Looks like they are extending into the middle floor and going to play with those mirrors for it. Not a bad idea. Shocked we didn't have the castle actually brought it out, especially since not many people are going to want to bring out the sledge for a basement site unless they're solely using the grenades, but there's plenty of other operators that bring the nades. Finka, Maverick, Iana, just to name a few. So, especially if they were able to maybe hide that castle pick, that could have been a pretty big ability just to outright stall Karn Co. and maybe weaken both their communication and timing, because that has been a problem we have seen multiple times, especially when ATK have a full 5-man in lobby.
All right, he got both the black mirrors down. That's what I was worried about. I thought he would DC before he got one of them down, but we're good. He's chilling. Now Splash can play inside of the site, leave the more aggressive actions to be taken by Silent if he wants to, maybe Eddie if he wants to. Both very viable options. Karn Co as well. Same site they're attacking, but going something to a bit more, reminding us a bit more of what they went for in their first basement attempt, focusing very heavily over by Big Tower, pushing down into E-Box and those stairs. They have plenty of hard breaching utility, so it's not like they can't go to it later on, but maybe this indicates they're switching things up once again. All right, there he goes.
There he goes. Must be a 6 versus 4 because someone, like you had mentioned, has paid off on the Karn Co side to get rid of Splash. But not completely over just yet. This extension is thriving and well, but the Nomads can actually allow Karn Co to play more in towards their side of the map and not have to overtly push out this extension, and that does allow the fallback to now happen by ATK rather safely. But still, because Splash is left, it is that man advantage still looming over the heads of ATK they've got to now deal with. So if we don't see that aggressive swing work out for ATK, we could definitely see a 5-on-3 here in this final minute 20.
Really hope Splash is able to get his internet more under control. Not sure the situation is going on at this point. Like, I don't know. Maybe my boy's on a hotspot or something. Who knows? Thankfully, Karn Co don't have to worry about that C4 anymore. Now, Furta also has to be, or Julian, sorry, excuse me, has to be a lot more careful for how he wants to play this bunker position, because Eddie, well, as you see, he's got to focus on back tower. He gets one, but Zeno cuts him down pretty soon after. Now, Julian is definitely going to be feeling the hurt once the attack starts moving into the site. He's got some very useful utility, especially that C4. He's got to do double duty, trying to deny the planet, also getting a kill. Silent putting in the work right now. There goes Zeno, and the Finka falls. Furta spots the player inside a pillar, but the shots go wide, at least for the moment. I'll see if Julian and Furta can waste the little time that Karn Co have remaining. Karn putting the bomb down. He falls off. The smoke canister lands. Second one goes out too. Now it's all left up to Furta C4, but with him inside a freezer, this could be a bit too tricky of a position, and he might have to focus a lot more on having his gun up and holding down the cross, allowing Julian to maybe play a little bit more aggressively. Karn's still waiting for the time to fade. Ooh, gets shot by Silent. That's a big kill. With Mikey on low HP as well, it's all quickly finished off. DC, like every round, it doesn't matter if you're ATK. You can 4v5 pretty effectively on Oregon, which appears to be your territory firmly.
Still going to be a win nonetheless for ATK, taking the victory even during a lot of those 4-on-5 positions like you had mentioned, Carter. And, well, I guess firstly, got to thank Crow, because not all of us voted on ATK. They still ended up getting the bag despite it was a 45 a lot of instances. And also, I'm still quite happy that ATK still had a lot of great team play despite being at disadvantage a lot. Again, their play style, it really does incentivize them to want to go for those swings, get a couple kills, and in particular, still having plenty of team play like I had mentioned, allowing the smoke to completely cut off Evox, have Highway on Overwatch, and then he could just go only have to deal with Elbow. That was just brilliantly played, despite the fact there was still a lot of time to kill for Karn Co, and they were, for the most part, doing a good job of baiting out that utility, despite the fact there wasn't a lot there in the pocket of ATK to begin with.
And again, unlucky for the repeated DCs by Splash, but hey, lucky they got on match point before it really started getting bad. We'll toss it back to the desk to break down what is still, even then, a disappointing performance for Karn Co, whether it was a 5v5 or 4v5.
Let's start it off and talk about that elephant in the room, those disconnects, Connor. It's got to be mighty impressive that ATK still pulls this out in the fashion of 7-4, considering not only you down a person, but when those crashes keep happening, it's got to be demoralizing. And just from a strict statistics standpoint, you are losing out on whatever utility that operator brings to the table each round.
Yeah, especially with the ops that Splash was playing. Like you see in this clip right now, he's on the Wamai. He was on the Mira with a Nitro Cell. He was on Mute. He was on operators that in the late round typically get pretty strong. Then all of a sudden, boom, he's never there. Oh no. For Karn Co, this is a rough one. This is a rough game. And you gotta say, shouldn't have taken him to Oregon. Shouldn't have taken him to Club. Should have tried to force a cafe or a skyscraper, something else a little bit more intricate, because the way that these equalizer maps work out is that you can still get away with on your floods or on your defenses having a man disadvantage. You can swing momentum in your favor if you're just shooting better. That's what ATK was doing. They were just taking the initiative. They rode all the way through either on the attack or the defense and just looked strong the whole way.
Now, Cookies, you're Karn Co. You've got ATK who is dropping a man. And as Connor was saying, they're still doing all the right things. They're doing everything they need to do. How do you not take that advantage that you are presented nearly every round and say, guys, let's do something with this? Like, what's the issue there?
Karn's team dry runs 40 hours a week. It's like a full-time job for them, right? And yet they're still, and again, it's part of, I'm just going to hark back to what Connor said, it's part of it. 90% of it's the map. You can't exactly blow minds on Oregon defense, you know, with your strategy and whatnot. And quite frankly, you know, HK, it's just business as usual. These guys drill ranked. They love it. They've played Oregon a million times. So at some point, it's like, you know, I feel like Karn Company maybe should do something else. They should make better music. They should go to different maps. There's no reason Karn's team should be banning Border ever, banning Skyscraper. It doesn't make sense. It's silly. It's goofy. And you know what? They were punished today. I mean, it's just the fact that they got 45 is. I mean,
you don't
ATK's
think
used to
in
that.
those rank stacks, CJ, that they're used to having somebody fail a spawn peek and play 4v5?
Or, you know, someone
They're
just kinda-
forged.
someone eats the abandoned sanction like for a cheater. They're used to that. You don't play Oregon against ATK. I think people are going to learn this the hard way, but it is what it is. They're kind of, what are they, 6-0 now? Biblical.
Guess who, guys, I have as an interview? It's the man of the hour. The guy who saved them the game. It's Splash himself. Splash,
it took me a little bit to warm up, you know.
Are we gonna be able to do this interview? Is that gonna be an issue?
I'm sitting at 2 bars right now, so I don't know.
Perfect. Well, you look good. You sound good. That was a big win. How much of that were you able to even experience with the team to see going on? How did your team perform in your eyes from what you did see?
I had a big round. I got the opening pick. I got another kill. So like that round's on me, right? So I won a sat round.
Good.
Another round, I was on cams. So I basically won a sat round too.
Yeah, you would have had 2 rounds where you came in during prep. Yeah.
I called out the whole push, right? So like that's 2 rounds right there. And then I was on cutoff drones 1 round. That's another round, so 3 rounds. Yeah.
So obviously having a big effect in other ways. You know who did have a big game was Ferda. He was insane for your team this match.
I didn't even see what he did. I would just hear everyone go crazy in the call. I wouldn't even see what happened. Like, so I don't even know what he did. So I can't even say anything.
One of the big debates leading into this matchup for us was going to maps like either we suspected it was going to be Club or Oregon between these 2 teams. You guys got Oregon. I mean, from the final results, it seems like you guys are pretty happy that it was Oregon.
Yeah, I think we can beat anyone on Oregon. It's like it's a default map, but we just have so many like plays we could do. So like I feel like we can beat anyone on Oregon. So going to Oregon wasn't a problem.
Well, it was a very impressive showing, even considering the adversity that your team faced. Thank you for your time, Splash. We'll talk soon.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. You know, I didn't even think about that the idea that those rounds, Connor, where he comes back in, you know, where he's not able to actually get in as a player, you can still be very effective with the info game.
Okay, but do not be fooled. Do not be fooled. He would still have been better if he was in the lobby with his gun up.
Yeah, I'm not
He
saying...
may have been... He had the silver tongue. He was, you know, spewing sweet nothings. No,
I'm not saying it was a
he would have been better if he was not traveling in a hotel right now.
Secret advantage. Okay, well, we've got 1 match down out of the way. We're going to flip to a quick break. When we come back, it's going to be West Garfield Park taking on Gaming Gladiators.